But I only made $20,800 all year. So it means I had to live on very little except what people happened to help me out with here and there. But Obama didn't do anybody any favors, and if you hadn't done your taxes yet, you're going to find out that if he cut your check, didn't take as much out earlier, you're going to still have to pay it. He didn't give you anything. But see, they need that money because nasty Pelosi has to go on a drunk all the time. They recently tallied up her bar bill. She drinks some exotic liquor, and I got a list of everything she had. She had everything from Jack Daniels to Beef Eaters to you name it, all this, and some pretty fancy stuff. Anyway, her bar bill on her airplane alone, with just her staff, which isn't a real big staff, came to $101,000. Paid for out of your taxes. So she could go on a drunk. She is a lush of the first magnitude. But that's just one example. How many are not like that? When I look back in history, and I look at some of the astute men that were running this country years ago, I realized there was masonry back there and all this stuff. But there were some men that had some character. This bunch of goofballs today that are running things are clearly telling us that they don't know what they're doing. Right. Furthermore, I don't think they care. Now they've gotten to the point where our debt is so great that what we owe exceeds all the value of our country. If you take all the money, all the jewelry, all the wealth, all the buildings, all the real estate, everything, put it all together, we owe more than what this country is worth. It is now logistically and mathematically impossible to pay our debt. We are broke and absolutely bankrupt. How did they accomplish that one? And guess what? They're spending more. Money that is not there. Well, we all knew these things were going on, but every so often we need a little reminder. What does this mean? The Antichrist is coming. There's a new system coming. This one can't possibly work anymore. That's right. Remember I was talking about bacteria, spiritual bacteria on Sunday? And I mentioned to you that bacteria, there's so much bacteria in the world of many, many different kinds, and it's constantly dying, thankfully, because if all bacteria were allowed to live, that in 1 week it would cover the earth, every spot on earth, 6 feet deep. That's how much bacteria there is. Sin is like that, of course. That was what the message was about. The spiritual bacteria of sin. But what's interesting about that is that if you take all the bacteria in the world, I had mentioned that it was 5 nonillion was the count. Our national debt is 1/3 as much as all the bacteria that exists in the world. Of course, you got to factor in if it was 1 nonillion, but it's actually 5. So you have to factor that in too. But we're getting up to that level of trillions, which is 1/3 of the way to nonillion. Can you fathom that? How much bacteria is there? In 1 milliliter. Remember from your science classes what a milliliter is? A milliliter is just a tiny little bit of water, but in 1 milliliter are 1 million bacteria. How much is a nonillion? Well, think of all the bacteria in all the oceans and the seas and the lakes and all through the land and the air. And it's a fantastic number. So is a trillion. And now we owe 12.85 trillion for national debt. A light year is only 6 trillion miles. Almost $13 trillion we owe. And now this month of February, toward the end of this month, we're going to hit the ceiling again and have to raise the limit again. What am I telling you? There is no way out of this, no way to fix this. We are looking for the Lord to come. All right? Now let's look at what else he said regarding Israel and how it pertains to us. Notice he said they're not to lust after evil things. We're not to do that. Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Incidentally, if you ever run into one of these critics of the Bible that says, but if you go back to where this happened in the days of Moses, it says 24,000. Here he says 23,000. So there's a discrepancy in the Bible. No, there really isn't. Because before the 23,000 fell, they took 1,000 and strung them up of the leaders. So you add that 1,000 on and you come up to the 23,000. Okay? The 4 and 20,000 rather. Okay? So anyway, it balances out. Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents. Tempted Christ, was he there, back there? Yes. In spirit, he was back there. In the all-knowing mind of God, he was there in the wilderness with them. That rock was Christ. All right? So what is he saying here? Really, he's linking all of these things together. Lust leads to idolatry. Idolatry brings forth more lust. Lust and idolatry together bring forth fornication. Lust is another form of idolatry. You lust after something so much you've worshipped it. That's scary, isn't it? You know, God is so merciful to all of us. Wouldn't you say? If he marked iniquity, none of us would be here. So he goes on and says, in verse 9, he made a point of this, neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. What a way to go, huh? Neither murmur ye. Of course, murmuring is what? It's complaining, squawking, running off at the mouth, dissatisfaction. And were destroyed of the destroyer. I got a little something to tell you here. If you really think you need something from God, never complain about not having it. Trust the Lord, be thankful, glorify God with what you have, and he'll change your circumstances. Complain and you'll wander in circles till you die. That's what Israel did. Now all these things happened unto them for ensamples. And they are written for our admonition. You and I, folks, right now, tonight. Upon whom the ends of the world are come. Are we the people upon whom the end of the world is coming? Yeah. Then this is for us. Don't lust after evil things. Don't be idolatrous. Don't make church into just a playground. Don't fall into all these fornicative things, whether they be literal or meaning physical or spiritual. That's why we can't get involved with other churches. That would be spiritual fornication. God doesn't want us flirting with the whore. Right? You start joining up with the Catholics and these other ecumenical things, you're flirting with the whore. Just as if you go out in the street and find one, start flirting with her. Same thing. Can lead to trouble, right? Okay? Verse 12 says, wherefore, let him that thinketh he standeth Take heed lest he fall.